Welcome to Useful Thoughts. Today's episode's title is How to Talk to Anyone. Did you ever feel lost for words when you met someone new? I used to. This video shares my strategies that I have learned from my life experience that helped me to overcome social anxiety and become a confident conversationalist. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers and feeling confident enough and easy enough knowing you can strike up a conversation with anyone. How would you feel if you could effortlessly make a great impression and build a genuine connection with people from all walks of life? Well, in the conversation, you have basically two parts that you will play, and that is talking and listening. And it's like a ping pong game. While one is talking, the other one would listen, and the other way around. And listening is actually much more important than talking, and here's why. There are two types of listening. There is active listening and there is passive listening. What does that mean? If you are a passive listener, you would just sit there and wait until the other person has finished with his or her blah, 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 blah. So in this case, you are probably not that interested in what the person is talking about. And this may be because you are not actually interested in this person's blah, blah, blah. You are more interested in the person's body. So if you talk to an attractive woman as a man, it might not be important what this person is actually saying, but because all you want to do is you know what. So it's another thing in business talk. In business talks, it is very important what the other person is saying, because you are trying to figure out if this person is a worthwhile business partner or not, or the person is figuring out if you are a good business partner or not. So in this kind of conversation, you would do active listening, because every word the other person says is important, or at least could be important, and maybe a hook to play the ball back to you so you can do the talking. The way of listening, active and passive listening, may change a couple of times during a conversation, because not everything a person is telling you might be interesting for you. Some things are, some things are not. So while the person is talking something that you are keen about to learn, you might be an active listener, and while the person is telling you something you don't really care about, you become a passive listener. But it is important to not show the other person that you are a passive listener. Body language is very important to keep a conversation alive. If you just sit there bored, waiting until the person has finished with his or her blah, 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 the person will recognize that you are bored and will probably stop the conversation soon. But if you show some excitement, some facial expression, some like, yeah, I know what you mean. Oh yeah, been there. Then the person will keep on talking, because it is flattering to have somebody listening to you. Also, you can use some techniques for summarizing and reflecting on what somebody has just said. So if you summarize what the other person is saying for that person, then she will know that you are an active listener, and that is flattering and will keep the conversation going. It is also important to ask effective questions. So there are questions that will have a positive effect on the conversation, and there will be questions that have a negative effect. If you want to show genuine interest and curiosity, you might ask follow-up questions. So you pick a topic, you ask a small question, you get a small answer, and then you're going deeper into the conversation by asking more specific questions. If you get bored by one certain topic, you need to seemingly transit from one topic to another, and you can do this by using some keywords. For example, a person was just telling you about her holidays in Spain. And maybe at some point the person would talk about the coffee she or he had in Spain. You could immediately change the topic to, let's say, Italy, because this is where you had a coffee as well. That's a very simple example, but I think you know what I mean. There might also be some keywords that you can use to change the topic completely. For example, you talk about coffee in Italy and you say, hey, I had a really expensive coffee in Venice on the Plaza de San Marco. It was almost 12 euros for a small espresso. And at this point, you could change the conversation into talking about how pricey everything has become. At this point, as we have been just talking about coffee, if you want to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee. The link to do so is down in the description. So what makes a conversation magically? What do I mean by magically? If you have a magic conversation, then you will remember that conversation later in your life, and that way also remember the person. And if you had a really good talk, you maybe have the wish to meet this person again and continue with the conversation. Magic conversations happen when you are sharing experiences, passions, obsessions, things you have in common. If you've been visiting the same places, or you do the same sports, or you read the same book, or you listen to the same music, a connection will be established and the other person will like you more. Because she feels that you are very similar to the person. Because you could be a part of their self in a way. And this will lead to a deeper understanding and to a deeper connection. I have met many people in my life, and when I was on vacation traveling alone, I highly recommend traveling alone, I met dozens of persons all around the globe from all countries in the world. No matter whom I met, I could always find something we have in common, no matter what it was. Hey, you are a dog owner as well. Or, hey, you do skiing. Or, hey, you have been at that place. Or, you are a yogi, you are a scuba diver, you like to play billiards, you like beer, you like women, you like cars. You can find a level of conversation with anyone. So if you are having a nice talk with a stranger, it is also important to finish the talk at the right moment, because you don't want to bore the person. That way you can leave a positive and memorable impression on others. Quit the talk when it is at its nicest point. That way the person you've been talking to will have the wish to continue talking to you another time. Also, it is important to be genuine, respectful, and authentic. You don't need to act as if you were someone who you are not, because at some point people will realize it anyway if you are a liar. So be authentic, don't make anything up, be who you are. That is what people like the most. Be true, be real, and let the conversation also be real. And I guess that's one of the most important things to do, is being authentic. You can practice such skills to build your confidence in various social settings. It is probably easier to learn to know a person when you have a common friend, but it is also easy to initiate a conversation when you do an activity together. Like, of course, you cannot become a specialist in conversation overnight. You need some practice, but it doesn't take long if you're doing it the right way. And as you become better in doing conversation with strangers, you will also become more confident over time. And it's actually an exponential curve. It may be hard at the beginning, but it gets easier the more times you have been successful. So, to overcome your social anxiety, just approach someone, just ask one question. It can be a stupid or a funny question as well, doesn't matter, it always depends on the context. But as long as you are authentic, friendly and nice, but not too nice, I guess that's a good point to start. And that's it for today. If you want to see me again, please subscribe to the channel. Here are some other videos and playlists that you can watch. And as always, see you later, alligators.